Hello, my name is Chrissy Moyer, and I am a secondary instructional coach at Flat Rock Community Schools. This presentation is intended to help educators learn more about talk moves to help facilitate classroom discussions. First, we will look at the goals for using talk moves and why they should be used in the classroom. Next, we'll review the guiding principles that lead the implementation of talk moves. And a few examples of discussion formats will be shared, along with additional resources that can be used to guide future learning. Before we get into the why for talk moves, it is important to identify our goals as educators. Take a moment to think about modern learning and what skills our students will need to be prepared for their lives after they leave our classrooms. Some examples of skills required for 21st century learners are critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and collaboration. All of these can be supported through class discussions and teacher strategic use of talk moves. Talk moves help to foster a student-centered learning environment and align to a constructivist framework. Classroom discussions require active learning and student interactions with each other and the content. Talk moves are applicable to all content areas. Our district uses the GELM document as a guide to the essential practices for disciplinary literacy. Whether it's ELA, mathematics, social studies, science, or another elective area, higher order discussions and opportunities for speaking and listening apply to every subject. There are a few guiding principles that can help with planning and implementation of talk moves in the classroom. The first is to let students do the talking. Another way Reinhardt states this is to never say anything a kid can say. Again, this goes back to supporting a learner-centered environment. You must have confidence and belief in students' capabilities to engage in higher order thinking and communication. It can be tempting to take the more time-effective route of telling students an answer when a question or struggle occurs. However, rephrasing your response into a question can help students practice problem solving and critical thinking through productive struggle. There is an improv game where participants can only speak in questions. This activity could be used with a trusted friend or family member for you to help develop questioning techniques that are both responsive and goal-oriented. Besides providing an opportunity for productive struggle, classroom discussions establish the expectation that students must participate and be active in their learning. These interactions can provide meaningful insight and serve as opportunities for formative assessment to inform instruction. Through his research, Peter Liljedahl, the author of Building Thinking Classrooms, found that there are three types of questions that students ask in the classroom. The first are proximity questions. These questions are ones students will ask when a teacher is nearby. There are stop thinking questions that students will ask, like whether an answer is correct or if this material will be on the test. And Liljedahl suggests that teachers acknowledge but not answer these types of questions so that students can shift to the third type of questions. Keep thinking questions are those that help students continue with their task. In response, teachers can ask questions about students' thinking up until that point in the process, what information is available, what has been attempted so far, and so on. This helps students work through productive struggle and helps them retain ownership of their learning. Like with any instructional tool, resource, or strategy, class discussions should be intentional in their design and implementation. Knowing the purpose for the questions posed to and by students can help teachers plan for ways to facilitate opportunities for student talk. Some examples of purposes for discussions are elicitation, consolidations, focusing on data analysis, and giving students the opportunity to explain their thinking. Knowing the purpose for a planned discussion also helps teachers align the format of the discussion with learning goals. For some lessons, a whole group discussion might be the most appropriate. In other situations, smaller groups or even one-on-one conversations will better support students meeting the learning objective. The key thing here is that teachers can plan ahead with the understanding of the learning goal while being responsive to what students are saying in the moment. It does take practice, but with time and experience, teachers can better implement these practices. Here are a few formats for classroom discussions that are student-centered. The first is the Socratic Circle. In this structure, students are given a reading or a data set in advance and asked to prepare higher order questions. The whole group sits in a circle, and students pose questions and share their thoughts with each other. Learners are responsible for driving the conversation and holding each other accountable for supporting their claims using evidence from the text or data. Another format for the whole group discussions is called the fishbowl. In this type of discussion, students sit in two circles, one inner circle and one outer. Students inside are doing the talking, similar to the Socratic circle. The outside group takes notes about the conversation. There are variations to this format that allow for students to enter the conversation from the outer circle. In one version, a student can tag in and trade seats with someone from the inner circle. In another version, an empty seat can be provided for students to join the inner circle for a comment or a question before returning to the outer circle. Another format that is a blend of both small and whole group conversation is called a snowball. For this activity, students begin in pairs and share ideas based on a topic or question. After a few minutes, each pair combines with another to form a group of four. This group shares highlights from the previous round with their new group mates. For the next round, groups of four combine to make groups of eight, and so on, until the whole class is together as one group. This could potentially be used when building a consensus model. Next, we will move to the use of vertical non-permanent surfaces for small group discussions. This format is typically used for math-based classrooms, but it's not limited to that content area. For these discussions, whiteboards or similar surfaces are used for students to show their ideas and problem-solving strategies for open-ended tasks. Students work in smaller groups of 3 with some groups of 2 if necessary. This helps to ensure every student can participate in the discussion and hold their group mates accountable. Having the writing spaces positioned vertically makes every group's ideas visible to the other students and to the teacher. This can lead to knowledge transfer among groups, and it also can help the teacher know which groups need additional assistance. At the end of the task, the teacher facilitates the consolidation discussion with the whole class using student-produced work at the boards. Another talk format that incorporates student writing is the placemat discussion. For this discussion, each student is assigned a corner of a piece of paper. In that space, students respond to an open-ended prompt. Responses can be written in sentences, lists, pictures, etc. This first part of the activity is a brainstorming opportunity. After students have had some time to think on their own, groups discuss what each person put in their corner. In the middle of the page, the group writes a consensus or a summary of their discussion. Another activity that fosters collaboration and communication is hexagonal thinking. For this activity, students write down key terms or concepts on hexagons, all relating to the same topic. Then, small groups work together to arrange the shapes so that adjacent terms or ideas have a connection. This can also be a good practice with claim evidence and reasoning, as students within the group need to be able to communicate why they selected their design. In the digital age, technology can be used to support communication skills. Video presentations can provide an avenue for students to practice using academic language in an alternative setting. Platforms like Flipgrid and Canva can also allow peers to view and respond to each other's videos to continue the conversation. Another practice with talk moves is through one-on-one student interviews. These conversations can give students the opportunity to demonstrate their thinking and understanding in a way that a test or a written practice assignment may not. For student interviews, the learner's thinking should be at the center as teachers pose questions that can help guide students toward a solution, extend thinking, or consider alternative strategies. If you plan to utilize talk moves in class discussion for an upcoming lesson, here are some resources that might be beneficial. The first is a checklist based on instructional goals that is from the Inquiry Project. For each goal, there are strategies and sentence stems for teachers to use during the conversation. The Talk Moves map from Kathy O'Connor provides guidance on how teachers can move the conversation along based on students' responses during the discussion. The Talk Move Starters is a printable reference with sentence stems that students can use during the conversation based on their desired goal for questioning. The last item on the list is utilizing a coaching cycle. I would encourage you to reach out to your instructional coach as a resource to help co-plan, co-teach, or observe your lesson. Having a thought partner can be beneficial when implementing talk moves. For further information on the research and ideas presented, please check out these references. Thank you very much.